Margaret Kuhlman of Soul Astrology. I think I went on a bit this month in rather a Pisces fashion, but what I really wanted to say is that this time is like a birth on all levels, particularly the less physical levels. The physical level is the birth canal at present, and during a birth, a baby doesn't change exactly. It allows itself to be morphed as it goes along into whatever shape the canal requires, but it doesn't of itself change. So this time is not for us to change and develop ourselves apart from knowing who we are. The baby is what it is. We are what we are already. And we need to own up and be that, and not continuously hold ourselves back into the past by identifying with what has been or what we wish there was. We need to accept ourselves and the situation and relax through the process, and the new birth will happen. And now for the rest of this recording. Strength in Pisces in the chart this month, with Venus just short of Neptune and the Sun and Moon just beyond that, very close together. So if we could say that that is all one energy, and the new moon itself is bringing our attention to that energy. The energy of Venus, love, relatedness, and Neptune, the dissolver of all boundaries, a closeness and an empathy with people where we can scarcely separate ourselves. And all of this in Pisces, which is where there are no boundaries anyway. No boundaries, no definitions, no clarity for the mind. And so a strong need to relax and allow to arise what will, but only insofar as you can allow it to flow through and away. That is a way out of your experience, the past, which we are no longer experiencing as long as we will let it go. This level of relaxation and allowing is only fearful if you insist on identifying with the future, which also is not to do with your experience. And yet, how we identify ourselves depends on the past, and the movement of our life, one could say, depends on our having a future trajectory. So again we must dissolve all the boundaries, allow to be what is in the moment, not static. It's such a paradox, delightful. I always think the truth is nearer to us when we can face a paradox. At the very beginning of this month, following this new moon, the Moon, Sun and Venus will all sextile Pluto. And in terms of the energy of the month itself, there is the sextile to Pluto. It's a depth of perception of the physical world that Pluto is in the process of turning over and over. One beautiful experience for us, if we can follow that movement of transformation, death, rebirth, is that we get to realize the original arising of change constantly welling up in life, constantly. Life itself constantly welling up in the momentary experience with all the change and death and rebirth that it implies in every moment. This month is perhaps calling us to recognize that the turbulence on the physical level is a result of a birth which is already happening on the other levels. The manifestation of the birth takes time on the physical level. To be aware of this, we must go in ourselves, deeper and deeper into ourselves, into the space, letting go of identification, letting go of desires, needs even, just relaxing into the moment. We have the opportunity at this time to deepen meditation so that it takes us into the allness, also the allness of ourself, and notice inside the moment by moment welling up of life in ourselves. On the emotional level, emotions welling up, who knows where from? There are multiple reasons for having emotions and for having any specific emotion at any moment. This is not about any reasons we might mentally give it. It's about feeling the flow and accepting that the flow is everywhere. It's everywhere in us, except where we are restricted. So this is very much about not trying to hang on to any particular emotion, even happiness and love, not to hold on, so that the whole emotional experience is of flow. Sometimes the place you're standing keys you into a particular emotion, or the colour you look at, the person you've just passed in the street. I'm sure that you each have your ways of dealing with the emotional flow and ensuring you don't get stuck in any negative, restricted place. Saturn and Uranus are square. They're square for quite a long time. And so we need to accept that this energy is going on. It's interesting that Saturn is in Uranus's own sign, and that Uranus is in Earth, which Saturn kind of rules on a practical level. All that about you reap what you sow, that what you do determines what you get, and so on. Uranus is changing things, it's loosening up any structures we may have put in place. At the same time as Saturn is looking at the reasons for things, the meaning of things in Aquarius, the basic social structures. So there is a trying to hang on to what you believe at the same time as what's happening in life makes it very difficult to hang on. We need to avoid fearing the loss or violation of our principles. This is not about principles, it's about living. And the Venus on Neptune is showing us how to do that. It's about being kind. It's about having respect for people, for where they are and what their beliefs may be, what they're struggling with, which we never really know. It's giving each other space at the same time as being accepting of who they are, knowing that we all inhabit the same world. And in this month, especially the first half of this month, Saturn's connection with Chiron is brought into focus through an intense desire to communicate about it all. The trine and sextile to Mars in Gemini. Mars is approaching the North Node. There is a feeling that the communication, the ideas, the way we think that we actually are moving towards connecting in the right way. At the full moon, Mars will be on the North Node, and there is that great triangle with Saturn and Moon, sextile to the Sun. So this energy of communication looks like producing good results, able to acknowledge whatever principles there may be appropriate, and yet communicating diplomatically, carefully, gently, with the moon in Libra. The Sun, so the heart of it, the essence of the whole exercise, is to connect with the Chiron Venus, the need for relationship, and to relate about what really matters. What we're endeavouring to balance at this point is society's needs and the principles of good community and the needs of individuals. The individual needs to speak their truth and not be rejected for it. It's not about acting out those beliefs necessarily. It's about being able to have them, to express them. So it's not about inciting other people to action. It's not about even persuading people that we're right. It's about being honest and true, and at the same time as expressing our own beliefs and feelings and pains and all of that, accepting that other people have theirs which may not agree. So the second half of this month looks like really being able to contemplate where we may be going that's going to be valuable to everybody. There may be no one way of doing this. So the call this month is to be open and receptive and malleable to a degree without losing one's centre. In the full moon chart also we have Mercury connecting to Neptune. The difficulty in communication that Mercury square Mars can represent will be over by then, so perhaps the way to solve any difficulty in conversations that we may have is to really work on that empathy, to appreciate how the other person actually may be feeling, not just what it looks like or how you react to it. To empathize. Empathizing doesn't necessarily mean that you know how the other person feels. It's being open to their reality, to knowing that it exists. I think it's very important that we don't cut off communication from having felt a negative feeling or feeling rejected. Oh, well, if you don't understand me, I'll go away. It's not about that. It's not about stopping communication. Sometimes it's about letting go of what you thought and feeling. That lovely phrase, would you rather be right or happy? I feel this month is about a new birth. We're all going through it as a collective, and some people are going through it individually more than others. But as with the birth of a baby, the labour of the restricting movement enables the new birth to arrive and live in its own way. So perhaps we're letting go of all kinds of things. Not so much a growing time as an acceptance of who we really are. The birth itself is not about growth. It's about recognition of what's there and allowing it to have a life. So we need to own up to what we can and can't do personally in our skills, and let go of the smallness and restrictions that have held us in place in the past. So let your heart glow with your spirit. Let the spirit through appreciate the love of spirit and glow well. Above all, allow your emotions to flow through. They were never meant to stay. You turn them into sticky attitudes that cloy your vision and wonder why you can no longer see what is so clear. This world is beautiful, created by you in your joy. It makes no sense through the eyes of greed and fear. Recognize your body is made of the same stuff as trees and cows and butterflies. It really is all one. Don't fight it. Rejoice and treasure it all.